Hey, this is Brainwaves and I'm gonna show you how to make a drop in the style of No Good. This whole project file, as usual, is available on my Patreon along with many others, so feel free to check the link in the description if you want to get it, and let's get started. So the BPM for this project is 95. The drums sound like this. And they consist of a kick drum, 2 snares layered, a ride, and a hi-hat. The ride and the hi-hat are 5 milliseconds ahead of the grid. I'm using the track delay to push them a little bit forward. And that just makes the groove feel a little bit more human and funky. Now going into the synths, I have my sidechain in place with an automation in here, and then some reverb throw automations just to help with the flow of the track. The first bass, the opening bass, sound like this. This first bass is inside a group, and in that group I'm EQing a little bit just to tame some frequencies. Without the EQ, sounds like this. With the EQ. So yeah, there is 3 layers for this opening bass, and the first one sounds like this. And I'm gonna show you how that was made. So that basically started with a sine wave, and then I just added some harmonics. This harmonic in here is pretty important. It's at 20%. And the rest are these ones. So that's what it sounds like. There is no effects whatsoever. What I'm doing is having some post-processing outside, for example this amp with these parameters, then saturator, hard curve mode, and then erosion, and finally an EQ to shape the sound a little bit more. So as I said, that this harmonic is pretty important. If I take it out, it kind of loses its tone. So yeah, that's like the main tonal part of the sound, if you will. Then I have this layer, which is mostly like a distorted layer, and for that one I just have a sine wave with the volume all the way up and some 0 square distortion, so without the distortion, just sine wave. Then you cannot hear much of the distortion as of right now. I need to turn on the post-processing, so I have overdrive, saturation, once again analog clip, and erosion, and once again an EQ at the end, just shaping the sound a little bit more. Good. Then lastly I have a sub bass, and that sub bass is just one sine wave and soft clip and distortion, and I'm cutting everything above 100. So altogether sounds like that. Then on the second part of the drop I have this bass 2, which is kind of like a layer. Sounds like that. This one started with a square wave. Then I enabled this filter, and in here the resonance is pretty important to get like that tone, that resonance. I have this LFO1 that is being mapped to the level and to the cutoff. And then on the effects I have downsampling, distortion, OTT, and then reverb. Outside I just have an EQ cutting everything below 300. And in the second time around, I automated the cutoff of the filter. So that just creates like a different tone. You can definitely play with that. And got a ton of cool stuff. Then I have this bass, which is my favorite from the whole project. That patch started once again with a sine wave, and I'm adding a ton of harmonics, and I took out the fundamental. That's how it sounds so far. Then I added a sine wave just to get the low end back. It kind of sounded cleaner by doing it this way, so that's why I took out the fundamental of this one and added a second oscillator. Then I have the air can noise generator with these parameters. For the pitch automation that you're hearing, I basically just automated this pitch bend wheel, and if you check, I have the automation curve in here. So more on that later. Then I have hyperdimension, phaser, then utility, taking the stereo out of the low end. And I have this splitter with that splits the lows, the mids, and the highs. Basically, the lows don't have anything on them. Then the mids have a compressor, multiband compressor. And the highs have some compression as well and some linear fold distortion. Then outside of the patch, I have a overdrive, erosion, and I have this EQ, and I put this notch around the 3K area just to make the sound a little bit more hollow. Going back into the pitch bend, the second time around, you can see that I did like a different pitch movement. So it kind of starts from the lower part of the pitch and then goes up and then goes back down. So yeah, then the bass 3 has a layer on the second part of the drop and sounds like this. That's a pretty cool sound and it's pretty easy to make, so let me show you what's going on in there. First of all, I have the same pitch bend automation, and all that is happening is there is a sine wave and then there is a saw wave, and there is a tiny bit of FMing or phase distortion technically going from the oscillator B. Most of the flavor of the sound comes from the pitch bend in here, the chorus pitch. If I bypass this, sounds like that, but if I put it back on, sounds like this. The rate is set on hertz, and then if I go here, you can see that for the chorus pitch of oscillator B, the values are 4% unipolar mode, and for oscillator A, the values are 19% and bipolar mode. So I'm basically just dragging the LFO to this little chorus slider in here. Then I have a filter and some hyperdimension and reverb. And I'm playing a high note like a E5. Then I have erosion and the same EQ, just making it a little bit more hollow. Yeah, that's a cool layer for the third bass. Then I have bass number 4, which is actually a variation of bass number 2 of this one. If you check the patch, you're gonna notice that it's basically the same thing, but I'm automating the rate and I changed the shape of the LFO. You can see that I'm automating the rating here. But yeah, besides that, it's a pretty similar patch. The rating here is 1 bar in triplets, and in here is much faster. Outside of the patch, I just added an EQ and I just shaped a little bit more of the sound, adding a little bit more low end on it. The last bass that I have in here is a layer for the bass 4, and it's like a sustain bass in the background. The patch is actually the same as this one. It's also a sine wave with this distortion units. Let me show you. Yeah, but the post-processing is different. That's why it's sounding different. So in here I have saturator and erosion. If I take these two, there is not much going on. Only saturation and erosion. And something interesting is that I automated the depth of the saturator. And the second part of the drop sounds like this. just a little bit more high pitched. But yeah, that's it for the whole project. I hope this was helpful. As usual, this whole project file and also the presets are available on my Patreon, along with many other project files and presets. I'm also doing one-on-one coaching and mixing and mastering gigs. If you are interested, let me know or check the link in the description. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you around.